In business tonight, India and the European Union edging closer to a trade deal that could help limit the impact of U.S. tariffs. That is for an agreement that's been in the works since 2007 and that the two parties hope to ink by the end of this year.
With President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs looming large, Indian and European Union officials are hoping to conclude what the EU calls the biggest deal of its kind anywhere in the world. Analysts say both sides now want to hammer out a deal that insulates them from any potential impact of what could become a trade war with one of their biggest trade partners, the United States. India-EU bilateral trade currently stands at roughly $130 billion, but the EU says there's potential for a lot more.
We're expecting a lot of our trade negotiators. We told them they should surprise us.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made her first big international visit to India earlier this month, just after being re-elected last year. It's being seen as an effort to catalyze a deal from talks that began in 2007. Negotiations stalled in 2013 and then resumed in 2021.
You know, they take as long as they take, and as we always say, substance trumps speed. We're going to try and get these talks done before the end of this year. It's a really ambitious commitment, and that will certainly be hopefully be the engine that drives the process forward.
As a part of the negotiations, India reportedly wants minimal tariffs on its leather and textile exports. Indian firms say the current 16% import levy makes it hard for them to compete against their neighborhood peers.
Vietnam is a country that has an FTA and a duty-free access on both sides, to the EU, and so there we are at a disadvantage.
India also reportedly wants greater EU access for its pharmaceutical products and chemicals, while European legal and financial firms want more entry into the Indian market. Both sides know there's much to gain, but there are major hurdles, one of which is the EU's proposed tax on carbon-intensive goods such as steel, aluminium and cement.
In certain industries where the EU is already very strong, there they may benefit more and the Indian companies would lose out.
The estimated 20 to 35% in carbon-related tariffs are set to kick in from 2026. New Delhi says they are unfair and could further hurt India's steel exports that have already suffered more than $4 billion in losses between 2018 to 2023 under those EU duties. Another sticking point involves reports that the EU is asking India to lower its 100 to 125% import duty on cars and slash tariffs on European wines from nearly 150% to about 40%. The carbon tax, European wine and Indian cars, these are just several sticking points in a mixed bag of trade barriers. Duties aside, another concern for India is EU's privacy laws and the cost pressure it could put on Indian firms to comply. The Observer Research Foundation has noted that not resolving this could be detrimental to the free trade agreement. It's an agreement in the works for nearly 2 decades with little movement from either side, but much more is at stake now given the spate of new US tariffs on both economies. The question is if both sides can resolve in 7 months what they couldn't in 18 years. Ishan Garg, CNA, New Delhi.
Of the European